Hello everyone. In this video we are going to work on some important functions for dealing with text and then see how we can ask Excel to speak out the text written in specific cells. So there are a bunch of functions dealing with text, and again you can go under formulas and find them here. The one that I would like to focus on are these commands here, about 16 of them, and they are quite useful, more useful than most other commands, or most frequently used, I would say. So first we have these two commands that do the opposite of each other, char and code. The first one, when you pass it a number in ASCII table, it will give you back the corresponding letter, and code does the opposite. You pass it the letter or character, not just letter, any character on the keyboard, and it gives you back the corresponding number. So as you know, we have something called the ASCII table. Okay, this one. And this is the standard table that shows to you the equivalent number for each character on your keyboard. Okay, that's how your computer encode whatever character that you type. There is an equivalent number for them, and you know computers understand numbers. At the end of the day, they only understand zeros and ones, but at least if I have a number, I can turn it into zeros and ones. So when I type something like this, or like that, or like this, or like this, or even the regular letters, small, capital, and so on, I have to convert them into some number so the computer can understand. And this is done by the standard ASCII table. So let me show you that table here. So here I have copied it. And as you can see in this table, you can see on the left side you have, or on the right side actually, because it's decimal and then hex. On the right side you have the characters in general, and the left side you have the decimal, and then you have hexadecimal here. So when you type in capital letter A for computer, it means number 65. On the other hand, if you say small letter a, it's 97. And the same difference that is between small a and capital A, which is, by the way, 32, exists between the rest of the capital and small letters. So if you add 32 to the capital letter E, which is 69, it becomes 101. Then it becomes a small letter E. Okay, so the difference between capital and small alphabet letters is 32. Small letters are 32 units bigger than the capital ones. But like, for example, if you want like a brace, left and right brace, the brackets, forward, backward, slash, question mark means 63, right? Ampersand means 38, dollar sign is 36, exclamation mark is 33, and so on and so forth. Okay, so even when you click on the escape is, you're not typing anything, but to tell the computer that somebody pushed on the escape, that is 27. Okay, so if there is a tab, a vertical tab, so there are backspace, you click on backspace, that means number 8 to computer. And that's what these two commands do. The first one, as I said, you pass it a number, it gives you the character. The second one, you give it the character, it gives you the number. So let me see, for example, here I say, what is the character for number 105, correct? And it says that's a small letter I, and if you look here, small letter I is 105. And on the other hand, you can say, what is the code for, let's say, 39. Oh, sorry, you have to provide the text, and then it gives you what is the code for the question mark, right? And it says 63. Okay, which you can see here. By the way, when you use this code, if I don't use these double quotations, you are going to get an error, okay? Because it is expecting a text, and a text should be inside double quotation marks. So make sure when you are passing a text to a function, okay, it has, when you enter it yourself manually, it has to be inside double quotation mark. Now you might say, what if I just type the question mark like here? If I say, what is the code to this, is that going to work? Yes. So there is a difference. If the text you are typing like here, if it's already typed, then when you're using it and referring to it in a function, it already knows it is a text. So there is this built-in function here that tells Excel, hey, this is a text. Don't ask for double quotations. It is already a text. Okay? But if you do it yourself manually like this, Excel doesn't know unless you provide those double quotations around it. Okay? So please pay attention to these small yet important differences. So that's char and code. Now you might wonder, what is this? I'll tell you. That's the thing that's the question that came up last time that we were doing sorting and lookup. And if you remember, I was working with this list of countries and their GDP and stuff to show you how these lookup commands work. And when we tried to sort this out, we got some error, right? Or not error, we got something not reasonable. Like, for example, here, if you remember, we had this list of countries and then say, hey, sort this from A to Z, and it gave me this. And this does not make any sense, because Germany should be definitely below France, and United States should be at the bottom of this list, alphabetically. So why is it that these two countries are on the top? The rest of it seems okay from Brazil down, but these two countries definitely not. What's going on, right? And if you say sort them from Z to A, again, these two countries are out of order. United States supposed to be on the top, and Germany is supposed to be above France here, but they are not. Okay, so what's going on here? That the sorting is not working. I'll tell you. I tell you when we get to the text, and I'll tell you. Just bear up with me a little bit, and I'll tell you what happened there, that you saw something that does not make sense. So character and code, converting a number to its ASCII character and an ASCII character to the number. Okay, we have two things that are quite similar, not exactly, but quite similar: value and text. So what value and text do is, if you apply value to a text that is really a number, but it has double quotation around it, it will convert it. We call it typecasting in programming. It will convert that text, which is number 100, to an actual number, which is 100. What do I mean by that? So look, I say this cell value is 100, but in double quotation, right? Now, if I say, okay, I want to say this is equal to whatever this guy was plus 30. You get the error in value. Why? Because you are adding heterogeneous type of data. And if you remember when we talked about errors in Excel, value means what? You were expecting, Excel was expecting a number, you provided a text, and exactly here you're adding, it expects you to add two numbers, but here you're adding a text to a number, and definitely it's not going to work. Okay, because this 100 is written as a text, right? Now, is there any way I can convert this 100, which is a text, to the 100, which is without the quotation, and this is just number 100 instead of text 100? And so the way to go about it is, I convert this into a number using the command value, and I say convert cell D16 into its corresponding value, which is number 100, and then add 30 to it. And you see, boom, I get an error. Why is that? Right? I expected it to work, correct? Look here. I expected it when I apply to this, it works, but it doesn't. But let me show you something interesting. If inside this, I type that 100 with the double quotation, look, it works. Interesting, right? Yes. So in order to apply this, the text that you provide, if you are showing that it is a text with double quotation, you should use that double quotation and the number inside the double quotation inside the function value. If it is written like that in a cell, right, and you are referring to it, it is not going to like it, okay? So if I have a text like this 100, again, it gives me actual number 100, and now guess what? I can add 30 to this, no worries. Okay, so these are these small things that sometimes confuse the students, but you clearly see it is converting my text into a number, and the other one text does the exact opposite. So here I can say text, this is equal to text of, and then I provide my a number like this, correct? And now definitely you see here it needs another argument. It's not just the value, you have to provide the format, okay? And because it has capability of converting your number into, and it's a number, you don't have to provide double quotation, you just provide the number. It has the capability of converting your actual integer or a real number into several formats, not just one format. So you have to provide the format text, okay? And it could be like a scientific format, currency format, and so on and so forth. So it has a lot more capabilities, and you can see some of these formats here, right? So if you use, for example, $sign in the beginning of the format, it means use a currency. Or if you say dd/yy means convert it into this kind of format, okay, for a month, day, and year. Or just convert it to the day of the week, right? So if you provide today, when you do today, it gives you a number. Now, if you say write it as DDD, means convert it to the day of the week and show it. Or now convert it into this format, HMAMPM. You know, it doesn't do that. It just gives you the number when you say now, but it can write it in this format. Or convert it into decimals, or convert decimals into fractions, or do scientific, and so on and so forth, okay? Convert even a number into latitude, longitude, add leading zeros. So there are so many things. Now, if you do not want any of those, you just want to convert it to simple text, simply say the format is 0, okay? I'm not interested in any fancy format, just convert it into a text with number 100 being inside the text, and it does. And now you might say, well, this is just like 100, isn't it? What's the difference between that 100 and this 100 that I typed? You see, this is just number 100. This, apparently, I converted it into text. What's the difference between these two? Well, there are several ways to show these two are different, although they look very similar. One is, if you add a 20 to them, then you will see the difference. This one, and of course, add an equal sign. Here becomes this, and here, let's see. Oh, what happened? I could add a 20 to it, right? I expected that I couldn't because that's an actual text and I should not be able to add it to any, but I did, right? So it is a little bit out of ordinary, right? But keep that in mind for a second. Let me go back and show you something interesting. So here I use the command is text. You know, this command is used to what? To determine whether something is of type text or not. So I say, is this guy a text? Sure, it is. How about this one? This last one. No, it's not. It's false. So this is a number, right? This is a text. Or you can use the command is number. If you do is number, this is going to be true, that is going to be false. So their types are different. Okay, one of them is actually text, one of them is a number. But can I add a number to both of these? Sure. You saw that I can easily add the 20 to this one, and I can add the 20 to what? To this one. And if I add the 20, that's the next interesting thing that comes up. If I add the 20 to it, what happens now? It's not a text anymore. You see, before I add the 20, it was a text. Now it's not. So what is it going on here? When I'm adding this text to the number, what it is doing is, although it was text, it is doing a typecasting by itself. So it converts this text back to a number again so that it can add it to this number. And the result is, of course, a number which is not a text. You see? So it is doing typecasting. Although I did the typecasting, it did it one more time so that it can add it with 20. So kind of like it's undoing this text, going back to number 100. Okay, you see I can do that. Okay, so didn't throw an error at me. You might expect an error, right? Say, hey, I'm adding two different things. It should throw an error at me, and it didn't. Now you might be tempted to say, well, can I add, let's say, this France or Italy or Japan to 20? If it could do it to that number 100 that was converted into text, can I add it to Japan? No. You see, that's another one. So if something is really text, it's made out of characters, A, B, C, all the way to Z, and it's not a number that was typecasted to text, you cannot add a number to it. You definitely get the error, right? But if it's something that it was a number and you convert it to text using the command text, then you can add that to what? To the number. Okay, so these are these important differences that you see when you're working with commands like this. Now you might say, well, what's the use of these? So far we have looked at 4 of these commands, and we have seen all different cases where they work, when they don't, and limitations and everything. Now what's the use? What can I do with these? Right, so could you show me any application? Sure. In order to do that, what I would like to show you is, first I want to show you this command concatenate, and then I come back and show you. So first let me do the concatenate. So far I have told you this one, this one, this one, and this one, and now I'm gonna jump a little bit over the list, go to concatenate, and then come back. So if I say, what is the concatenate? Concatenate means put them right after each other, attach them. What's the concatenate of Brazil and then Canada? Well, then it put them right after each other and make it one larger text. Okay, concatenate them. Now, if you want a space between them, you have to add that space manually yourself, like double quotation, space, double quotation, and then what? A comma. Okay, so concatenate does not include space between the text that it is putting together. It is attaching together. If you want since it can do more than 2 texts. You can add and attach as many text variables as you want. There is no limitation to 2 or 3. You can add 10 of them together. And if there is a space missing and you want a space, you can what? Add that as a separate text that you type like this. Okay? Fine? So it's a very powerful command, this concatenation. Now, let's see the application of it. What's the application? So let's say here, I have the name of this class, which is called EGR. Okay, so EGR for engineering. This is the name to many different, or let's say I even only have one of them. That's fine. EGR, and then maybe engineering, science, and then so on and so forth. Right? Mechanical engineering, maybe. So I'm just showing you. You get rid of that. ME, like AE, EE, and so on. Correct? And now let's say I have several sections of EGR something, and I want to type or create the name of those sections here. So for example, here say EGR, and then what? Let's say 115, correct? And then section 1, section 2, section 3. How can I do that? So what I want to create here is, again, something like this. EGR, let's say 115, section 1. EGR 115, section 2. EGR 115, section 3, and so on, correct? Well, how can I create this just from this EGR, or maybe EGR 115? How can I do that? Well, the way to go about it is, if I just have a bunch of numbers here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, correct, which I can create very fast. Let's say I have 4 sections, so I select these 2, then I extend it, let's say, to 5 sessions, or as many as I want, correct? And now I want to convert these guys into EGR 115-1-2 all the way to -5. So I say this is equal to concatenate of this guy, and then what? Now what do I want? I want -1. So I can add a dash, and now I want a 1. But if I say number 1 here, or if instead of number 1 I choose this guy, what do you think would happen? Well, yes, D3 is a text. This dash is a text, but this number 1 is not a text, right? It's just number 1. So if I enter that, well, I don't expect it to happen, but it did. Why? It did the typecasting for me, and that's why, because Excel is getting smarter and smarter. Ideally, it should throw an error at me, but it didn't. But if I want to make sure it really does not throw an error at me, what do? I convert that D9 into a text. So I say, give me the text of that D9 with this format, convert it into a text, and then add it to the section. Okay, so you see here. Now, of course, here you're going to get a mess. Why? Because for the first cell, I did not use absolute reference. I just said D3 and then it goes down. If I make it absolute, that EGR should not change. Look here, right? So again, ideally, I'm combining a text with a text. This last one should also be a text, but it was number D9. But again, here it is doing a typecasting. It did not throw an error at me because the Excel, whoever is writing these functions for Excel, they are trying to do error handling first within the function themselves. And then if their function that they wrote cannot handle the error, then now you have to make sure you do it yourself by converting. Okay, but you see, like the previous case, when I added the text of number 100, correct? And it was a text. And when I add 30 to it, I did expect an error. Why? Because this is a text, this is a number. You should not be able to add them together. But apparently what? It did. Why? Because it did typecasting on this text, converted it back to a number, so it can add it to a number. So you see the command text and the command concatenate are getting smarter, okay? They are not giving you too much hard time. But even if they do, you always have a way to convert your numbers into text, so you can do it with the rest of the stuff, right? Or let me show you another thing that might be a little bit more convincing. So let's say here, let's look at another case where it might not be as smart as concatenate. So let's say here I want to look at the number of digits in number 100 or 1000. How many digits are in this number? If I want to count the digits, well, what can I do? Is there a command called digits? You see, there is not. There is no command digit. So how can I know it has 4 digits? So one way is I'm going to convert this 1000 into text. So I say, hey, convert this number 1000 into text. So now it is a text. And on the text, I can run this command called length, L-E-N. And length give me the number of characters in it. So convert it to text and give me the length. And it says 4. You see, it has 4 characters, 1000. So that's the number of digits. So if it doesn't give you a command directly to look at the number of digits, you can always use the command length. Now, can I run the command length directly on number 1000? Well, let's try that. Can I run it on a number like that? Yes. You see, the commands are getting smart. It's not supposed to do that, but it does. It's a number, but here it is treating it as a text and applies the command length to it. Okay, so you see, our commands are getting smarter and smarter. They don't pick on you as much. And that's good. That's a good thing. That reduces our need to something like text so often, but still it is valuable that you can convert a number into text, convert a text into a number, and then to ASCII codes. Okay, lower, upper, and proper. They are quite clear, right? So lower will convert everything into lowercase, upper does it uppercase all, proper does the first letter in capital and the rest of them in small, like these. So for example, if I say this is equal to upper of, let's say, India, then it converts it all to caps. If I say this is equal to lower of Japan, then it converts it all to lowercase. And if I say this is equal to proper of this India, you see, it does convert or keep the first letter as cap and the rest of them as a small letter. So these are very good for correcting the names. Okay, I showed you the length also, not a big deal. Let's look at some of the other things. One of them is trim. Trim gets rid of spaces in a text as long as those spaces are not between separate words. So it gets rid of redundant white spaces. For example, if I have something like this, space hello, space world, space, right? You see here, I have one extra space in the beginning, one extra space at the end. And now I say this is equal to trim of this guy. Look at that. It got rid of them. How can I know that something has really been done? Well, I can use the command length. Give me the length of this one, and give me the length of this bottom one. You see? That's 11, that's 13, because the two, what we call leading and trailing spaces of the top one are gone in the bottom one. Not the one that is between the words. It keeps that. That's good. Okay? But you clearly see what the command trim does. Okay, and now that I mentioned this trim, let's go back and look at this question now. I guess it's a good time now to look at it. Why is it that here the sort command from A to Z doesn't work? Well, if you want to see that better, instead of making everything center, put everything on the left side. See what happens. Do you see anything? Yes. You look at Germany and United States, they have an extra space here in their beginning, and they shouldn't. That extra space will change everything in this order. Because when it sorts from A to Z, it looks at the first letters. So here you have B, C, B, C, F, I, J, and so on, but this and this are white spaces. And what's the value of a white space? Well, we have to go and find it. It's 32. So to excel, the first letter of these two guys start with 32, while here, this cap B, which is the next one, is what? Cap B, if you look at it, is 66. Right? So just because of this white space, these two are considered from the point of Excel to be starting with smaller numbers. And then between these two that both have space, now that the first letters are the same, it goes to the second letter, and this is U, that's G, so that's why Germany goes on the top. Right? So it's just because of this one single space that sorting is messed up. And all I need is to get rid of it. So I either double click and get rid of it, or what? I can apply that command trim. If I trim this, then it gets rid of what? This initial G, correct? And now look, I select it again and I sort it one more time. Here. There we go, right? Works just fine. So be careful when you're sorting words. Make sure you always get rid of the spaces in the beginning, at the end, and use the command trim. It's a very good, powerful command. Okay, so hopefully I could answer that question if it was bugging your mind. So now let's go back and look at the rest of the commands. Find, replace, left, right, repeating, and exact. Now, since I mentioned this upper and lower, let me go to exact first. So exact compares two strings, two texts, to each other, and it gives you true if they are exactly the same, if even one character is different, or there is one extra white space, or anything, even if the cases, like one of them has an uppercase, one of them has a lowercase of the same thing, this command is case sensitive. It is going to return a false. So if I have here, let's say this English, and I have this English, from the point of view of exact, these two guys are not the same thing. Okay, so exact, is this one and this one exactly the same? Well, no, they are not. What if I really want to compare two things, but I do not want to care about the case? And I want to avoid the case sensitivity of this command. How can I do that? Well, then one thing you can do is convert both of them to either lowercase or uppercase. Right? So say, hey, compare for me the lowercase of E5 with what? With the lowercase of E6. Are they the same? Or the upper of both? Right? And guess what? It is true. So if you only care about the letters they have, not the case, capital or small, convert both of them to lower or both of them to upper, then compare with exact, because exact is case sensitive. Okay? So that's about exact. Good. Now let's look at find and replace, which of course we also have in the top tab, right? If you go here, find, and then you have replace. And you can do that as well with these two commands on any text. So let's say here, I want to say Excel is fun, right? That's a text that I'm typing. And since it is in a cell, I don't need double quotation. So Excel is fun, right? Now I want this command find to tell me some text, which to me, I want to know where it is starting the word fun in it, and this one. So where does the word fun, this guy here that I'm trying to find, where does it start in this big string? And it says character 10. Now where is 10? So here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, spaces 6, 7, 8, spaces 9. The beginning of fun here is character 10. So it tells you at character 10 is where fun is starting. Good? So it tells you the beginning of that. Good. Now, so what? Now let's say I want to replace that fun, correct? With some other word. Instead of saying like Excel is fun, I say Excel is powerful. So what can I say? Say this is equal to replace in the old text, which is this, and then it says start number. Starting from which character do you want to replace something? And that's where I can use that find command. Starting from here, how many characters do you want to replace? Well, powerful is 9 characters, so I say 9. And then it says, okay, what is the text? And I say powerful. And look, it gives you that. Okay, so if you want to use the command replace, you have to know where in the old text you want to replace something and how many characters you want to replace. Okay, so the command find can come to the help of replace. Okay, what else? Left and right, some very powerful commands. So let's say you probably have seen a lot that if there are some family names, right, or first names or something, it is asking you to come up with like write the first 3 letters of your name here, or the last 3 letters of your name, or right? So trying to abbreviate something, make it shorter. So let's say here, or some countries, right? For example, let's say, or like some courses, let's say geography, correct, history, literature, mathematics, and let's say chemistry, and so on, physics. So now if somebody says, okay, could you give me the first 3, you see that probably in many places when you are trying to enroll for courses, it does not show all of the names. It probably show a brief version of them, like maybe the first 3 letters, correct? And maybe it wants you to show the first 3 letters all in capital. So how do you do it? First, you want to get the first 3 letters on the left side and then capitalize it. So you say here, this is equal to upper of what? the first three colors on the left. So you use the command left, and this command from some text will pick as many letters as you want from starting from the left side. So let's say I want only the first three letters on the left. Get it, convert it to upper, and give it to me. And boom. And now I can do it for the rest of them. You see? So you can get as many letters as you want from the left, or you can do a similar thing on the right side if you want. Okay, you can do a similar thing on the right. If it works, if it's useful to you, you might get it from the right side. Now, typically they get it from the left side, because English is typed from left to right. But if your language is such that you start writing from right to left, then probably getting some letters from the right side would be more useful, right? So then I can use the command right. Get three letters from the right side. And then it says, for that is PHY, which could confuse you that geography is the same as physics. And then this, right? So this left and right are actually extremely powerful commands when you're dealing with editing text or abbreviating or something like that. And finally, we have the repetition. So here you're trying to repeat one text in a cell several times. So let's say, let's say I have W. And here I say this is equal to repeat of this guy, and then what? 3 times. And it make it www dot something, right? So you can repeat, and if you add something to it, right, it just repeats the whole thing 3 times, 5 times, as many times as you want. Okay, so this is also very useful if you want to repeat some small text in some cell several times. Okay, so you see, we have a bunch of commands when dealing with text, and each one has its own application. We also learn about the ASCII table, which is the table converting characters of the keyboard to some equivalent number that the computer can understand. The only thing that I'm still trying to convince you is where would be that the command value or text, which convert a text into a number or a number into a text, right? These typecasting commands, they would be useful, because I showed you cases that you want to add something, heterogeneous data, or do concatenation or length, and Excel is now smart. It does the typecasting for you and does not throw error at you. So you might wonder, then what's the use of this command text? Of course, text was quite useful because it was not just converting a number into just regular text. It has several formats, right? It had several formats that were quite powerful. Okay, so let me show you one more time. If you remember here, the command text could do more than one format, right? Can convert your numbers into fractions and so on, right? And this is one of the good ones. I really like this one, this fraction one, right? So for example, if I have this number, let's say 0.333, I say here this is equal to text of this number and then the fraction format. Oh, I have 2 commas. Be careful. Well, let's see. What is P7? Did not copy it well. Here. And then it writes it as what? A fraction. So the command text has definitely applications, okay? It definitely has applications, and it is a very powerful command. I'm just trying to see if I can convince you that this command value can be of any use. Okay, and I did a little bit more search and just wanted to make sure that whether what I was thinking about the use of value is really valid, and it is. And I checked again the help of Excel on this command. So if you go there and check the help of Excel for the function value, you'll see that the value function, Excel itself says you do not necessarily need to use it, or generally, right? Because Excel automatically converts text to numbers as necessary, okay? So this function does not really have a ton of use. The only place I found it might be useful is if you want to subtract two time points that are written in a time format like this, hour, minutes, seconds, from each other to see what was the time difference between them. You won't subtract them directly, you have to convert them into a number and then subtract, okay? That could be the only thing I could come up with for this function to really have any meaningful application. And one last thing was to speak the text in a cell, and for that you need to add this command here, which is speak cells, and this command is typically not available here on the top, but if you want you can add it. You just go here and click on this customize quick access toolbar, which is on the top, and then go to more commands, and then here instead of popular command change it to all commands, and then go all the way down until you see what? Speak cells. Okay, here I already added it, but if you go down, you can see speak cells. And there are different versions of it. Speak cells, stop speaking cells, speak cells by columns, by rows, on enter, right? And the one I chose was this guy, so I selected it and then added it to that side, right? If you don't want it, you can click here and remove it. Okay, but that's it. You click it, you add it to the current list, and you OK that. And you have this command here. And now if you select some ranges like this, and you want it to speak aloud these text written in these cells, just say, highlight down, say speak cells, and now hopefully you can listen it.
Sure.
Listen to it.
Code. Value.
Text. Lower. Upper. Proper. Len. Trim. Find. Replace. Left. Right. Report. Exact. Concatenate.
Okay, so hopefully you could hear that and see that you can convert your text into speech loud that you can hear. Okay, I guess at this point I have covered most of the important stuff about text. So I'll finish this video and I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you.